들어갔어. 얘는 이게 안 되잖아.
A story about friendship is what I would call the show named Weak Hero. But there's so much more to it that I want to talk about. So beware. Spoilers. While doom-scrolling searching for yet my next source of dopamine, I stumbled upon this very gem. Not expecting anything crazy, I didn't know how much I would clench my hands while watching a show about some high schoolers. Real consequences are a concept that's usually not too typical for K-dramas, bullies being actually punished. No immunity despite having political influence. Weak Hero displays magnitudes of unfairness, yet really goes into the nitty-gritty and deals with these problems up front. Enter Yeon Si-in, a shorter smarty guy, eager to get great grades. Not the most typical choice for a high school protagonist in a K-drama. Naturally, a Korean classroom dominated by the pressure of social hierarchies sees him as an easy target, and that much holds true. He performs the worst in PE, he does not magically gain an incredible physique overnight, nor does he have any martial arts knowledge. But first impressions can be deceiving. All it needs is a catalyst. There's plenty of stress in everyday life, and that's what pushes people by their very nature. What separates us from each other lies in our morals. For a high schooler, it should be a priority to do well in class, portrayed by Si-in's meticulous display of studying, perhaps to impress his divorced mother. In any case, unlike him, many teenagers often feel the natural urge to establish themselves among groups, even disregarding the law at times. Caught in that crossfire, our hero is forced to learn and adapt. This time, however, not new vocabularies and formulas, but how to come out on top in real, violent situations. In a vacuum, Si-in would lose any fight, hence why, weak hero. So how does the show actually manage to push me to the edge of my seat? Why do I always believe there's a solution for him to find? Usually, I'm not the biggest fan of narration. And contrary to the format of a manhwa, we don't really have thought bubbles. Instead, the director blesses us with scenes where our protagonist breaks down his every step of a plan. We, as the audience, are conditioned to this, as it's a reoccurring theme, amplified by this amazing tune. But once we're accustomed to that, it's still not being overused. Several fight scenes later on even completely disregard the display of the planning phase. We simply know that he does it. Every single time. And not to condone violence or anything, I really have to say, gosh. Do I enjoy how, well, raw these scenes are kept. Anyway, not always does everything go according to plan. If only. Most of the time, there will be errors, forcing our main character to adapt on the fly, using anything and everything in his vicinity, and unlike the manhwa, we even come to lose at times. That's the nature of fights. Brilliantly, the camera guides us through each individual actions of the combatants. But once it zooms out, chaos. Making me feel all the sweat on my hands. By the end of the day, it's not all fun and games. As we can see several times, you would think you would get used to the severity of the show, just to have it one-up itself with each passing episode. Contrary to Season 2 though, where we're met with a complete change of perspective. Enemies catching onto the train of thought of Si-in. Other major characters being pushed more into the foreground, and above all else, an antagonist having the exact same thinking pattern as him when it comes to fighting. Yet, there's one thing that remains constant throughout all ordeals. Before any situation escalates, Park Ji-yoon is still able to tell us how much his character is actually holding back. There's an urge within Ji-yeon to fight, maybe even excitement. It's not blatantly stated as it is in the manhwa, but it's scenes like these, where we can simply tell. So, why does he never really let it out? Is it guilt towards his parents? Guilt towards his friends who got endangered by his defiance towards his bullies? Or simply his original morals? Whatever the case, it is a theme lingering not only within Ji-yeon, but also his companions. Enter Hakumin, a character that's written so positively that it would be rather unrealistic for anyone to behave like that in real life. So, they changed him in the live action. Thankfully so. Honoring his way in the manhwa, we are introduced to the school's strongest student, very much an anime style, but only for one scene. Someone this cheerful just had to have a hidden side to him. In his very case, the very guilt we talked about. He serves as a catalyst himself to one of the show's greatest conflicts by being the main target of the antagonist, but also by being the previous teacher of said villain. Thus, despite being a great fighter, Kumin made it a point to not teach anyone how to actually fight ever again. Furthermore, he decides to carry the burden of joining a real upcoming gang by serving as one of their leading money collectors. This serves as our parallel to Ji-yeon. Both know themselves what they're actually capable of, yet decide to usually not engage as it goes against their morals. Yet the one thing that makes our stronger and our weaker heroes snap is when it comes to their friends. Hesitant at first, Ji-yeon ultimately couldn't ignore a classmate getting heavily beaten up. A classmate that wronged him at first, but tried to fix it. Baku couldn't bring it over himself to ignore his friend's trust in him when it really mattered. Hence ultimately why I believe that this is a story about... Even toned down from his manhwa parallel, you can see Baku is quite the opposite of Ji-yeon at first, who was actually even making an effort to not make any friends. Season 1 ending with him being left by all his comrades due to extreme circumstances causes severe insomnia and depression in our weak hero, which therapy alone couldn't fix. We see him only stick to himself, not engaging with anyone else, potentially due to being afraid of harming or losing yet another friend. It is our very care for others, and his values though, that naturally draws in like-minded people. Newton's third law states, by every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, which is intentionally misinterpreted in the story. I assume they actually meant the law of attraction, that states that you tend to attract what you focus on. Focus on being positive to others, and others shall positively respond to that, which isn't fully scientifically backed though. So they went for Newton instead. Continuity to Ji-yeon's nerdy character. So, it's no wonder that those two characters, who are so different at first glance, are able to connect so easily. It is that very bond that ends up prevailing in the final act of the show, where it comes to an all-out brawl between the union of school gangs versus the entirety of the school our protagonists go to. When one of us is downed, the next one takes over. Even previous rivals are enemies. The other side, however, is abandoned. All alone, once on the ground. None of the gang members, who are only there for the money anyway, willing to aid. Technically, Weak Hero is just another generic zero to hero show, but the careful approach to character development and story progression makes you unable to look away. It's cheesy, yet exciting, predictable, and still so captivating. A show I can't help but sim for. Simply, their delivery is what got me hooked. And many others too. A great story about friendship. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you like this new format. If you want to see more of that, let me know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe. Thank you!
백진이 친구라고?
백진이 후임이 필요해.
Guys, do you think they're actually gonna make a third season? Like, I could see it. Really, I do. But somehow, I could also accept this as the very ending. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.